Am I on right now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Says I'm in practice session. I'm not sure what that means.
This is real.
You
I
keep,
hate to practice. I'm too old to practice.
you keep spinning around. I don't know if you're upside down or which way you're going here.
Am I right now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, I was changing the volume. Yeah, sorry about that.
Council President, I think everybody's here if you want to get started.
Everyone is here. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. So why don't we get started? Welcome everyone to our Binghamton City Council work session for Monday, May 3rd. Let's please stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States
of
of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible,
Visible with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
Lee, roll call, please.
Okay. Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns, we'll mark him as absent for now. Councilman Strong,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Rusnetti.
Present.
Okay, that's 6 here, 1 absent. Burns.
Okay, it looks like we have a pretty short agenda tonight. We'll start with Chief Zukoski. And could you please tell us about RL 21-86? How are
Hi,
you?
everyone. Good. How are you?
Good.
We're asking that you approve a director for the police department community outreach and recruitment. Part of our reform collaborative, there's a lot of interest in us having a full-time recruiter and also at the same time a community outreach or liaison person. So it's part of the reform initiative. It was in the mayor's state of the city, and it was in the proposals that we set you to be approved. We'd like to hit the ground running. That's why we asked you to expedite it. That our reform report was due April 1st. We're already, 5 weeks into that. And then, from the time, if you should approve it, we have to post it 10 business days. So we'd like to get going as quickly as possible and get somebody in this position and get the work at hand done.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Councilwoman
I want to
Friedman.
just note that Councilman Burns has joined the meeting, please.
Thank you. Councilwoman Friedman, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Chief Zukoski. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I was wondering, what are the metrics of success for this position? Like, do you have any solid goals with this? Like, we hope to hire X number of officers of color or anything like that?
We don't at this time. Obviously, it's a new position, and it's very difficult to recruit anybody, let alone officers of color. Obviously, that's going to be our emphasis, to diversify the department as much as we can, and that's what we're going to work on. But at this point, we don't have any goal. It's difficult to recruit anybody at this point. Quite frankly, you watch every day on the TV that recruitment's a huge issue to departments all around the country. So. At this point, we just want to get the program started, start working at it, and do the best we can.
Okay, thanks. And my other question is this, the budget line that this position will be funded out of is quite large. And I was wondering if you could tell me a little more specifically about what position will be unfunded, or like where specifically the money is coming from.
The money came from the personnel line of the police department, which when the academy started, we had some individuals that didn't make it the first few days. Either they dropped out a couple of days before the academy or right up to it. So we didn't have the opportunity. You can't put somebody in, day one, start them the day somebody dropped out. So that's money that was currently in the personnel line that we switched over to fill this position, to fund this position for the rest of the year.
I see. So if there were more officers that followed through in the academy, it would have gone to their salary, but instead it's being transferred to this new position. Am I understanding?
correct. That's correct, yes.
All right,
that's-
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, Councilman Burns, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Chief. How are you?
Hey, Joe, how are you?
Thanks for coming. I'm wondering about the recruitment. Where do you think, are we going to just, recruit from BU? Are we going to go to universities? Like, how far out would we go for this recruitment?
Well, that's a good question, Joe. Years back, we went statewide and we hired a number of people from out of the Broome County area. Right now, it's Broome and adjoining counties. And the problem we ran into there, if we left out our community here locally, is we had several officers come here, get hired as a police officer, we train them. A couple of years later, they went back home. We had people go back to Rochester, back to Buffalo. One guy went to Greece, New York. Another guy went back to Oneida City Police Department. So, we're going to push as hard as we can, and we're just going to see where we're getting, where we're going. People say it all the time. Yep. Oh, I want to live in Binghamton. This is what, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to stay. And we're just going to have to see how it goes. Obviously, we're going to recruit heavily in the Broome County and any adjoining county and see how it goes from there.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Riley?
Yes, thank you again, Council President. Hello, Chief Zukoski. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Good, good. I think my Wi-Fi cut out, but did you state a goal plan, a goal date in terms of the hiring to have this person in place?
Well, we asked to expedite it because as soon as possible, if you approve it, from the time you approve it, then it's got to be posted for 10 business days. And then we have to, fill the position. So, that a report was due to you by April 1st. And so we're 5 weeks into that already. This was part of our reform collaborative. So we'd like to get started as soon as we can in the process.
Okay, so, but the expectation for this position itself, they would not I do see the requirements, but is there any special training that will ensure they are the community specialist outreach person you desire to have after they are onboarded?
Well, obviously, if there's any training available, we're going to send it to them, without a doubt. If there's any training that this person could attend, this is something we'd like to do ongoing for when I'm long gone from this position. It's something, get a better relationship with the community. We make the department as diverse as possible. So without a doubt, if there's training becomes available, we'll be sending the person to it.
Okay, and you mentioned diversity again. So in terms of diversity, are you speaking gender, ethnicity? Is that your goal with this position? Or,
our goal is everything, to be diverse as possible, whether it be gender, whether it be race, to reflect our community. So, and once again, it's very difficult to recruit anybody at this point, but we're going to try very hard. So our goal is recruit it, make our department as diverse in all aspects as we can. So we're not limited to what gender, we're not limited to race. It's, whoever.
Race is a social construct, but that's neither here nor there. One last question, I'm sorry. Now I've forgotten the question. This person, is this eligible for an internal candidate, or are you solely looking for external hires?
Well, it'd be anybody that applies for the position. We're not limited to anything, whoever meets the qualifications that were set up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Jeff, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well. Tell us a little bit about RL 21-85.
A couple of years ago, we attempted to fill this position. The water sewer wastewater pump maintainer. We were unsuccessful with finding anyone with the required credentials. or experience. So in order to fill a position and get someone trained, we hired someone as a laborer. Then COVID hit, everything kind of froze, and promises have been made to this employee that he would eventually make it to this position from laborer. We're in a position now, he has more than met our expectations and requirements of this job. And we'd like to see this go through and put this individual up to the salary for the job he has been doing and has been training for the past year and a half.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Take care.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
You too. All right, so the next we have John. John, how are you? Are you there? Yeah, there you are. And you will talk to us about RL 2187. John, can you hear us? John, it looks like you're muted.
I clicked the ask to unmute button.
Okay.
We'll see if he responds.
I can speak briefly on this as we're waiting for him. This is in my capacity as Acting Director of Personnel and Safety. Good evening.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi. So in the Treasury Department, we're seeking to defund what is a full-time account clerk's position and instead refund it as a part-time clerk position. One of the reasons we've been able to do this is because of the Herculean efforts of John Sperduti and his team in the Treasury Department. They've worked hard to save us money after someone's retirement, reevaluated and realized they can cope with the existing work in this capacity. So essentially taking what would have cost the city a full-time salary and instead converting it to a part-time is somewhat recognition of the fact that City Hall is in some respects closed to the public, although based off of the amazing infrastructure and work delegation skills that John has done, he's fairly certain that his staff will be able to accommodate this and save taxpayers some money.
Sophia, John is here.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Hi, John.
Hello, I apologize. It's my first time using Zoom with you council persons, so.
Okay. Well, Sharon did talk a little bit about this. I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, I think Sharon phrased it very appropriately. Thank you, Sharon.
So are there any questions? Councilwoman Friedman.
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Sharon and John. How are you?
Good. How are you, Councilwoman?
Good, thank you. So just to check, this would be, I understand, a reduction in funds and also a reduction in hours that this person would be performing their job?
Correct. If you notice in your current budget line, and I'm sorry to step on you, John, but if you notice in your current budget in 2021, there's a position for a part-time clerk that is unfunded because if you can believe it or not, the Treasury used to include those 3-time staff personnel positions as well as a part-time staffer. So that's how it was presented in your 2021 budget. So in fact, you don't even have to create a new position. The infrastructure is already there. You're essentially eliminating the funding from a full-time position and using that in part to fund a part-time position. John, if you want to speak any more on that, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to add as a caveat that in the event when City Hall does open up again to the public, I have to reassess the situation on whether or not this part-time position should move to a full-time position or not. We have to see how the public reacts and how the public acts now when we are open again, whether they use the vehicles we have in place now, continue to use them, or will they like to have that face-to-face interaction once again. So
I see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, John and Sharon. So now we'll move on to Chuck. and Ron, maybe, for RL 2188.
I don't think Ron's gonna be here.
Hey Chuck, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
What this is about 4 years ago, when we started the whole 7 Holly Street project, we knew we needed a new light at the corner of Holly and Washington Street. And this thing was going through BMTS and designs and the state for approval and everything. We finally got a quote back 4 years later, and the original estimate was $500,000 to do the design and the work itself. The whole thing's gonna end up costing us $925,000 to do the design and the actual construction work. The construction work that we just got the bid on was $715,000. So we're asking to do a amending bond ordinance for the 2019 bond ordinance for this traffic signal project.
Any questions? Councilwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Chuck, how are you?
Good, good.
So I have a couple of questions. First of all, did you mention what the increase was from the estimate to the actual cost?
I can't tell you what the exact reason was with the original estimate, which was done like 4 years ago, was $500,000 for everything. I haven't actually seen the actual breakout of the difference between the estimates and the project itself.
Okay, because I mean, I know things change all the time, although that does seem, that's like almost double, you know, so I'm just curious as to what the reason for the increase was.
Well, I can tell you one of the things, and I've started to see it through the purchasing aspect of it now, is with all this stimulus money out there and people going out to bids, a lot of the contractors are getting filled up with their work and prices are slowly starting to creep up.
Okay. And this is more just, I guess, curiosity. Is the traffic signal, does that include a pedestrian signal as well?
Sure, you want to answer that one? I think you know more about the details on that than I do.
Yes, it does, Aviva. And actually, this project dates back to BMTS advocating for it several years ago. So it's primarily a pedestrian safety project for that intersection, which, as you know, if you walk downtown, has no pedestrian signals right now. So this is, you know, chiefly a safety project above all.
Right. Yeah, that's why I asked, because I work downtown. My full-time job is downtown. And so it feels weird to cross that street with no pedestrian signal. So I'm glad to hear that that's included as well. Thanks.
And I think BMTS also did it due to the arena and 20 Holly Street, Jared, correct, and City Hall. So there's a lot of foot traffic through there.
And it's a unique intersection because the crossing on Washington is very short, which is, makes it safe for pedestrians. But across Hawley and the other side of Washington, it's quite long intersection to not have a pedestrian signal, especially in a downtown area.
The other aspect of it too that drove up the price is we only had one bidder on it. There's usually possibly 2 bidders on this type of work, but we only had one bidder on this one.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Looks like we're moving on to pending legislation. Grace, are you there?
It's actually me.
Hi, Lee.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, I won't read all of these, but does anybody have any questions on any of the pending legislation?
Looks like there are no questions. I can't believe I'm saying this because it hasn't been a long meeting, but a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.